Fox Sports.
We are Blackmore. We are St. Louis.
Edging closer to our first pitch here at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. It's Game 3 between the St. Louis Cardinals and the Milwaukee Brewers. Redbirds are looking for a sweep. And welcome to baseball, everyone, with my partner, Al Rabowski. I'm Dan McLaughlin. Delighted to have you with us. And Mike Matheny, the Cardinals manager, had preached balance from the opening of spring training with his lineup. And we've certainly seen that this weekend.
Well, we definitely have, and it helps to have a healthy Skip Schumacher. Didn't have much spring training, missed the first 13 games, but he sure isn't missing swinging the bat right now as he's doing his job. How about John Jay? He's been on the shelf with the injury, but the last 2 games he picked up 3 hits each. And then Yadier Molina probably had the biggest day of all the Cardinals yesterday, 4 for 4, including a home run.
If you like pitching, you're going to see that here today. Some very good starters, at least on paper. Zach Greinke and Jaime Garcia. A look at those two when we come back on your home of the Cardinals, Fox Sports Midwest. Matchup today is Garcia and Greinke here at Busch Stadium. They're part of our look at the lowest March-April ERA among active pitchers with at least 12 starts. Jared Weaver also a part of that, but what a matchup. Maybe the best in baseball, the lefty Garcia against a former Cy Young Award winner in Zach Greinke.
Zach Greinke last year was 13-0 in his home ballpark. That trend is continuing. But when he pitches on the road, it's a different story. The Cardinal hitters have great numbers against Greinke. On the other side, Jaime Garcia, he is the monster when he pitches at home. He is just mowing them down, great ERA, and if you look at the numbers for the Milwaukee hitters, they're not very good against Jaime.
Bryce Harper made his much-anticipated debut last night on the West Coast. A look at that and a special day at Forest Park when we come back. Walk at Forest Park yesterday. The Cardinals had a team there. They also had their team president, Bill DeWitt, as the honorary chair. Over 10,000 walkers, over $1 million raised. And the Cardinals also made the announcement that August 5th will be a special March for Babies Day here at the ballpark, and you can find out more at Cardinals.com. There was the debut of Bryce Harper and Mike Trout yesterday in Major League Baseball. Bryce Harper, the highly touted prospect for Washington. Trout would go 0 for 4, but for Bryce, making his debut at Dodger Stadium, first two times up, couldn't connect. He does here with a double off the base of the wall. He picks up his first ever hit. Mom and Dad were in the stands at Dodger Stadium. Short drive from Vegas, where he was born and raised. Bryce Harper in the major leagues at the age of 19. More coming up from Busch Stadium. It's Milwaukee and St. Louis. The Cardinals are looking for a sweep this afternoon.
you that the Cardinals would win without their best starting pitcher? Lost for the year before spring training even began? Would you have believed me if I told you that this team would win 30 of their final 43 games, stealing a spot in the playoffs on the season's final day? What if I told you that it wouldn't be Pujols or Holiday or Berkman who would send the Redbirds to the World Series, but the local kid, the longest of long shots? Would you have believed me if I told you that the Cardinals would be down to their last strike twice and find a way to win the greatest World Series game of all time? Well, they did all of these things, and against all odds, brought their fans a world championship. Would you believe me if I told you they would do it again in 2012?
They're waiting.
Mike Matheny and the Cardinals looking for a sweep. And a huge crowd here at Busch Stadium. Glad that you're with us. Jim Hayes, Al Raboski, Dan McLaughlin, our entire Fox Sports Midwest crew. And the first pitch to Ricky Weeks is taken for a ball outside. Ricky Weeks trying to come back from a vicious ankle injury a year ago. And he's only hitting 200. 57 degrees our temperature, so a very cool afternoon. You see what Jaime Garcia has done so far this year.
Amazing, the start for the starters.
And as Al mentioned before, Jaime Garcia in his career, not just last year or the year before, but he has been fantastic as you get a look at the starters together watching Jaime, but he has been fantastic here at Busch Stadium.
He has a career .233 ERA here at Busch Stadium.
Here's a 3-1 pitch, and it's a leadoff walk to Weeks. Well, back in 2010, a home run for Ricky Weeks, June 6th at the ballpark here in St. Louis. And ever since then, Jaime Garcia, no earned runs in his last 25 straight innings against the Brewers. That does not include postseason play, but that's right here at Busch Stadium. He has dominated Milwaukee.
He walked the first batter, but you can see that he has good movement.
And you talked about it in his previous start last road trip in Chicago, how he was turning the ball over. It's not a screwball, but it does have that kind of effect.
A lot of times you could just offset your grip on the baseball and you put a little more pressure on the inner part, thumb and first finger, and you can get the ball to fade away and don't have that torque on the elbow.
Gomez pops it up on the infield. The Cardinals at second base today have Skip Schumacher. This is a Brewers lineup that hits a ton of home runs. They've got 29 this year to lead the National League. Weeks, Gomez, and now Ryan Braun. Then Ramirez, Harden, Gonzalez, Lucroy, Ishikawa, the former Giant, and Zach Greinke, who's 1 for 7. Ron Renneke is in his second year as the manager of the Milwaukee Brewers. Spent 11 years with Mike Scioscia out on the West Coast with the Angels.
And of course, you go all the way back to Mike Scioscia and Renneke and Hatcher, all those guys from the, from their days with the Dodgers.
It's been a pretty good tree of coaches that have turned into managers that were under Mike Scioscia. When you think about a guy like Joe Madden, who was in the World Series with Tampa Bay, Ron Renneke, Bud Black with San Diego. So very good coaching staff that has seen the split, but those guys have seen better days as far as what they do personally, managing a team, something they want to do. Ron Renneke as a player was a real scrappy player, they said. And back in 1984, after Kirk Gibson and the Tigers had blasted away at Goose Gossage, he was the last man standing in the World Series. Had been cut a couple of times and then called back up in September by San Diego and was with their club as they made it to the World Series, then eventually lost. And Kirk Gibson, the National League Manager of the Year last season.
And Renneke finished second to him.
Here's a 2-0 pitch. Runner goes. Great jump. Throw by Molina. And safe. It's a stolen base for Weeks.
Only his second of the year. 18th of Milwaukee this year. But once again, he got a tremendous jump off the pitcher, off of Jaime Garcia. Throw a little touch high. And you can see a good call by our second base umpire, Ron Kolpa.
The replay brought to you by Plaza Tire Service. Just like the Cardinals without Albert Pujols in their lineup, Milwaukee without Prince Fielder, and there's been some talk that they need to do more of that, which the Cardinals have done, which is run and generate offense. And Milwaukee, instead of sitting back and waiting for that home run, you see what Braun's done the last 4 games, maybe generating a little bit more the top of their lineup and giving Braun some RBI opportunities.
Well, especially too when you got a pitcher on the mound that is very capable and will get his fair share of double play balls. Stay out of the double play. I send in the runner.
The 2-2.
I am Braun 1 for 7 on the homestand. His road trip or homestand.
I know what you meant, Al. It's a dark day right now. No sunshine. And the lights are not on here at the ballpark. A bit surprising.
Especially because it takes a while for them to take full effect, and the Cardinals could take advantage of it.
There's a breaking ball, and it's tapped foul. Let's take a look at the Cardinals defense around the horn, brought to you by Dobbs. Good to see John Jay back in there performing this weekend. His return to the lineup. Yadier Molina receiving his Gold Glove. Now with 4 under his belt before the ball game yesterday.
And the Platinum Glove. That's the best of the best Gold Glovers.
Here's a 3-2. Braun, a ground ball too short. Weeks does advance from second to third. And it brings in Aramis Ramirez. The managerial tree for Mike Scioscia. Joe Madden with Tampa Bay. Then you have Bud Black with San Diego. Nearly guided them into postseason play. And now Ron Renneke, Angels coach for 11 seasons under Mike Scioscia. And one thing that he was telling us before the game that he pulled away is to stay even keel. He said Mike Scioscia never got too high, never got too low, but very even keel. And that's the approach that he had last year as Milwaukee got out of the gates slowly. You see Ramirez with a home run yesterday. About this time last year, the Brewers were 5.5 games out, and then they eventually won the division with a record as far as wins are concerned. They had 96 wins last year, and that's a franchise record.
A lot of things went right for him last year. They lose Prince Fielder, and Ramirez got off to a very slow start, but he's picked it up. Corey Hart has always been the kind of the guy that you don't really give enough credit to. What a terrific player he is.
1 ball, 1 strike on Ramirez. Good pitch to tie him up.
Cutter. Great location and really running in on the batter. Also, you want a little bit right there where he's swinging over the top, but just great location on that pitch.
Just underway here at Busch Stadium. Time called by Ramirez, who has historically been a very slow starter. And scouts and people around baseball would point to the cold weather in Chicago as a reason as to why. 8.5 years with the Cubs and all those games at Wrigley, but he's in the climate control of Miller Park, so no excuses anymore.
On the season, he's 5 for 18 with a home run against the Cardinals, but hot this weekend. 4 for 7 with his home run.
Al, I know we've mentioned it many times, but just the confidence of being able to bury a pitch when you're 1-2, runner at third, and knowing it's not going anywhere with Molina behind the plate.
Can't emphasize that enough. As a pitcher, knowing you can bounce the ball up there and it'll be blocked.
Swing and a miss. He struck him out. Garcia allows the walk and pitches out of an early jam. By your Mid-America Chevy dealers, the #1 selling brand in St. Louis. Find us at STLchevy.com. By Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers, #1 for quality tires and expert auto service. And by Steak and Shake, just no equal. The Champions Club will be there for the White Sox series on a Wednesday night, as Mike Matheny had a few words for our home plate umpire, and I'm not sure if it was about the start time or the lights here at the ballpark. That was during our break. Furcal, Jay, and Holiday. Then Beltran, Freeze, Molina, Carpenter, Schumacher, and Jaime Garcia. Cardinals face a very good right-hander today in Zach Greinke.
Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. He's just outstanding at home. Last season he was 13-0, ERA in the 2s.
Trying to slap it. Strike one.
Ramirez playing in at third base, but he tried to take a shot at maybe hitting that ball down on the ball and getting it by the third baseman. Greinke He stopped his motion, but 13-0 last season on the road. This season he's already 2-0 with an ERA under 2 and pitched a great game against the Cardinals at home. But that trend of not pitching well on the road is continuing.
There's a curveball and bounced up the middle. Base hit for Rafael Furcal.
That'll help out. Ralphie, you like it when he slaps down on the ball and utilizes his speed. There's a breaking ball, gets over the mound, and kind of in slow motion it almost appeared. Ricky Weeks doesn't come up near it. Our Plaza Tire Auto Service Mocam, but good start here. But Greinke in one start on the road this year, he allowed 8 earned runs in 3 2/3 innings.
Brings in John Jay, 6 for 9 on the homestand. Runner at first is Rafael Furcal, and bunting here in the first inning. Ramirez bare hands, throws, and just got him. Runs at a premium possibly today, so the sacrifice in play. The defense for the Brewers brought to you by Dobbs. Braun, Gomez, Hart in the outfield. Ramirez, Gonzalez on the left side. Weeks and Ishikawa on the right side. Behind the plate, Jonathan Lucroy. Was not an easy play for Ramirez.
Not at all. Almost a perfect bunt. Nearly beats it out, but a nice play by Ramirez. A lot of the Cardinal hitters have very good numbers against Greinke.
3 hits this weekend for Matt Holliday. 3 RBIs. Cardinals were able to beat up on Yovani Gallardo Friday night. At 10 runs by the 3rd inning, 8 of those against Gallardo. And for whatever reason, he struggles against St. Louis. And so far against everybody else, a 1.71 ERA.
And can't figure that one out.
Nope.
Why does Greinke struggle so much on the road and then almost unhittable at home?
The 0-1 pitch to Holliday.
How much was that going to hurt Greinke as a potential free agent? He's got a Cy Young to his pedigree. He's got the great home record, but can't win it on the road. It's a little tough to give him the top dollar.
You know, back in 2005 with the Royals, he led the American League in losses. He had 17
right?
losses that year. And then his Cy Young season was 2009. And the record is not what stands out. It's the ERA, 2.16.
Led the league in ERA, and he only had 16 wins.
He had 16-8 that year. Big gap in left center field for Matt Holliday, and here's a 1-2. Ground ball to the left side, and Ramirez will make the play. Low throw and scoop by Ishikawa.
Ishikawa, we saw him when he was wearing the Giant uniform a couple years ago. Spent all year last year in AAA, and sure he's happy to be with the Milwaukee.
Here's Carlos Beltran. Average has dipped to 253. Brewers could not score in the top half of the inning with a man at third. Cardinals will try to make sure they do with 2 outs.
Carlos, the only Cardinal that doesn't have good numbers against a former teammate. Would they have been teammates?
He was in the minor leagues. Greinke was when Carlos was still a part of the team. In 2004 was the big deal for Beltran to Houston. And then after that season, he signed with the Mets. We had heard so much about Zach Greinke that he actually lived with George Brett, who was more hands-on at that point with the team. And Al gets a big chuckle every time I say that Zach Greinke was living with George Brett.
No, I was just happy that George was married at that time and had changed some of his bachelor ways.
He's what, 3 little boys right now? Well, now they're growing up, but
yeah.
3 boys.
George didn't get married till he was 37. It would have been a lot of fun following him during his bachelor days too.
Everybody said he was a smart ball player, and now I know why. Waited till 37.
You had a lot of fun following him, but I don't know what to do for your baseball career.
Here's a fly ball that's slicing down the left field line and out of play. We have just an absolutely packed house today here at Busch Stadium, despite the rain in the area and the cool weather. It's the championship trophy giveaway.
Tell you what, Dan, we might be doing this one again. When you see the turnout and how everybody, it's a beautiful little replica of the World Championship trophy.
Here's a 3-2. Spoiled again by Beltran, and Al's referring to the replica ring that will be given out again on July the 5th, I believe. It's a Friday night against the Marlins, and it's the first time in the organization's history they've decided to do a second giveaway with a promotional item. The fans were begging the Cardinals to do this. It's the 6th, actually, Friday the 6th. A youngster right there brought his glove, and he was the one that caught the foul ball just moments ago. Here's David Freese.
Good numbers again for David in the early going.
David is 5th in the National League in hitting at .343. Gets a breaking ball and pulls it foul. Matt Kemp of the Dodgers leads the National League in average home runs, and he is 2nd in RBIs. Kemp has just had an amazing start. He's hitting .442 with 11 home runs. And a walk-off yesterday against the Washington Nationals. Mike Matheny was asked about Bryce Harper making his major league debut, and Mike said, in his opinion, so much pressure has been put on Bryce Harper, the 19-year-old of the Nationals. They took his bat, they took the ball, and he said that's just unneeded pressure right now.
That's what happens today. Everything's under a microscope.
Nasty pitch by Greinke. He picks up the strikeout, and the Cardinals strand 2. It'll be Hart, Gonzalez, and Lucroy when we come back. This is since 2008 with the best record in March and April. So fast starts under Tony La Russa and a fast start this season under Mike Matheny. Question becomes, can you sustain that for the long haul, as a young fan is about to get his trophy. The strike at the knees to Corey Hart.
How about the packaging now, too? You know, in that very attractive box.
He's pumped.
And a little scared.
Was that Tony West that got that shot? Yeah, Tony said he's been scaring kids all season long. And really, Tony's a good guy, too, Al.
Very good guy. One of the hardest workers. Anybody that would ever accuse him of not working hard is crazy.
But he does scare young children here at the ballpark, so be on the lookout for Tony West. Up here in the booth with us, here's the 0-2. Got him, a strikeout of Corey Hart. Second strikeout for Jaime Garcia. Tony West is all over the ballpark.
Hey, just stay right there. I'm going to go around.
That does grow back in, we hope. But for today, it's a good looking shot. Here's Gonzalez. Off the end of the bat, shallow right center, and Beltran. Look how smooth he is in right. Coming on to make the catch. Scott Terry and many of the longtime former Cardinals here in town have the Cardinals Kids Clinics coming to a ball field near you. Just go to cardinals.com/clinics. It's really neat what they do. It's for boys and girls ages 7 to 13. They'll hand out tickets, sign autographs, do a clinic, and it's all done by Scott and former Redbirds. Lights have been turned on here at Busch Stadium. And the hitter is Jonathan Lucroy.
One for 3 in this series, 3 for 9 for the weekend.
It's a good action against a right-hander, Al. That pitch that we talk about that will run away by Garcia.
Everything he has terrific movement when he keeps the ball down.
One and two the count, and he's going with the fastball. It looks like it is, and it's a called third strike and no argument. 3 strikeouts in the first 2 innings for Jaime Garcia. Running away from Tony, but Cardinals.tv and find out more at Cardinals.com. Yadier Molina, 3-time All-Star, 4-time Gold Glove winner. 4 consecutive now for Yadi.
Yesterday, started out getting his 4th Gold Glove and then the Platinum Glove. First year that Rawlings has picked the best of the best Gold Glovers. And they selected one player of the Gold Glove award winners to get the Platinum Glove, and it was Yadi. And then he turned around and showed you what a terrific offensive player he is, going 4 for 4.
Comes in hitting .324 and really has emerged as truly one of the leaders of this team. Not that he wasn't before, but he's out of the shadow of Pujols to an extent, and signs his long-term deal. He knows he's going to be here a long time. He's a homegrown product, and he's been a part of championship teams, and one of the fans' favorites, Yadier Molina.
6 for 8 in the series. He's tied for the National League lead among catchers with his 4 home runs and leads with 14 RBIs.
We've seen him a man of many stances for a long time, and for the most part he's settled on this, where he's opened up, driving the ball, and leads off the bottom of the 2nd with a base hit. Speaking of catchers and Yadier Molina, it's our AT trivia question. Which 2 former players did Yadi pass for most Gold Gloves among Cardinals catchers? One of those is in the dugout with him and Mike Matheny. And Tom Pagnozzi each had 3. Pags, by the way, a season ticket holder for Cardinals baseball. He lives in Arkansas, so not that far of a drive for him to come in for some weekends.
There's a lot of great work in the Fayetteville, Arkansas area. Pagnozzi with his Pagnozzi Charities.
So heavily involved in the Arkansas program for baseball. University of Arkansas, the Razorbacks.
My understanding, he donated most of the money for their new stadium.
I did a game there last year, and it's phenomenal for a amateur facility, a college facility. It's terrific, and you are correct. Much of that was done by Tom Pagnozzi. Two and 1 on Matt Carpenter. Cardinals are hoping to get Lance Berkman back next week at some point, and we'll get an update with Jim Hayes coming up in the 3rd.
Now, and Craig is not far from joining the ball club.
In his career, we're told that as Greinke goes along in the game, he'll make up pitches as he goes. If the curveball feels different from one game to the next and it's going well, he'll just keep throwing that and just pounding it. The fastball doesn't feel good, he stays away from that. But they say he's really, truly a pitch maker. Depending on how the ball feels and what he feels like that day, that's what he goes with. There isn't a set pattern as we've seen with some guys.
And that's kind of interesting because a lot of guys will not give up on their pitches. They're not working early. They keep on staying with that pitch, and eventually may be their best pitch later in the game.
The 2-2 is lifted into center field. Back to first goes Yadier Molina. First season last year for Greinke wearing that Milwaukee uniform, and postseason, the National League Championship Series against the Cardinals. 6 strikeouts. We know he gets a lot of those, but he had the 4 walks, the high ERA, and a record of 1-1 in that championship series.
And we started the season on the disabled list. And then just had the perfect record at home last year. And currently now has a 13-game home winning streak, longest in franchise history. Cal Eldred was one of the guys that started out 8-0 for the Brewers.
2-0 on the 8th place hitter, Skip Schumacher. And as you well know, Al, there's a stat for everything if you want to look it up in baseball. But 8th place hitters last year, and it's a point of emphasis starting in spring training this year for Milwaukee and their pitching staff. The 8th place hitters hit .271 against them, and there was a .330 on base percentage.
It's pretty good.
Exactly, and they really felt that at times there was a lack of concentration, maybe looking ahead to the pitcher and not the emphasis of putting away the 8th man in a lineup. So that was a point of emphasis this year.
Yeah, that's very important.
Walk to Skip.
That's not what you want to do with the 8th place hitter. You want to dominate him.
The second walk issued by Greinke, and it brings in Jaime Garcia.
Cardinals pitchers are pretty good hitters. Big gap out into right center as they expect Greinke to overpower Garcia. I'm not sure I agree with that.
Corners are in, anticipating the bunt. Maybe you can explain for folks at home, Al, what is the easiest pitch to bunt if you're a hitter? Curveball, fastball, what do you think?
Well, most people that are accomplished bunters feel it's the curveball. It's going to be slower. You know, you want to get the bat out in fair territory. You want to flex those knees, have the barrel a little bit higher.
That's back to Greinke. Spins, throws out at third, and Garcia safe at first.
Punted a little bit too hard, and right back to the pitcher.
The first pitch, a curveball. That pitch was the fastball.
And kind of jammed him a little bit. Does a nice job not to, you know, to get that ball and not flinch at a ball up and in, but hit a little too hard, and Greinke was able to get the lead man.
Here's John Jay, the 27-year-old from Miami. Excuse me, Furcal. Two on and two outs, and Furcal singled his first time up. Just so excited to see John Jay back. I got ahead of myself, Al.
The way he's come back with 2-3 hit games, you should be.
Curveball, base hit just inside the third base line. A run will score that Schumacher, and the Cardinals lead it 1-0. And Furcal picks up the RBI, and he's 2 for 2.
Furcal's 9th RBI. Look at that ball just slicing just inside the line. Braun actually plays this pretty well in a sense that keeps it a single, but how about Garcia going from first to third on that ball to left?
Now it's John Jay.
Now it's John Jay. I think it was a premonition, Dan, that you knew John was going to do something exciting.
Well, thank you, Al. That's what I was thinking too. Of course I was.
Hopefully John was thinking it.
11-1 now. Cardinals score first. That's third best in the big leagues.
Hard to believe 11-1 and it's third best.
Runners at the corners for John Jay. Hits it out of play. When scoring first, the A's and Yankees are undefeated.
Pretty much had to figure that.
Yes, sir. Here's a 1-1 pitch. Instead, time is called. Who would have thought that John Jay, the 74th overall pick in '06, would be the guy manning center field? not Colby Rasmus. Backhanded by Gonzalez. The throw is in time. Boy, he is smooth at short. Good player in Gonzalez. Takes the hit away. Cardinals grab an early lead. Milwaukee, and that's updated with Rafael Furcal, now 9 for 23, as he's picked up an RBI this afternoon, and he's 2 for 2 going the other way.
So dangerous when he spreads the ball around. Look how deep he got that ball into the hitting zone. It'll slice away into the foul territory after bouncing fair. What a difference he makes when he's starting to be the offensive player. Starting to look like the Rafael Furcal of the early days with Atlanta.
Ishikawa will lead it off for Milwaukee as we move to the top of the third. Jim Hayes has joined us here in the booth. And guys, many times we've seen after a night game, Mike Matheny will mix up his lineup, especially if he's won the series. Small sample size first month here, but he's going with the lineup that has been hot. And right now, Jim, with the off day tomorrow, Tuesday night could be intriguing for Mike because this team is starting to get healthier.
Well, Alan Craig expected to be back with the big club on Tuesday. Not definite yet. He'll play his third rehab game in Memphis. He played 3 with Palm Beach. He's been hitting the ball well, even had an infield hit, which leads the Cardinals to believe that the knee is feeling a lot better. And certainly with Alan Craig back in the mix, Mike says he'll see some action at first base until Berkman gets back. He's happy also with the way Carpenter's been playing at first base. At the very least, it makes the bench even stronger for the Cardinals. But the Cardinals do expect Alan Craig back soon. They're expecting Tuesday.
Ouch. That one is a foul ball off the leg or the foot of Ishikawa. And there's Lance Berkman. He was telling us that hitting wise, he was fine from both sides of the plate, but still a question mark. Jim was trying to run.
Yeah, he's got that left calf sprain. He's eligible to come off the DL on May 4th. He told me today that he's going to step up what he's been doing in terms of the way he's been hitting mostly off a tee and not trying to run. Now he says it's time to test where the calf is so they can assess and sort of test it out to see what the next step is.
2-2, swung on and missed. Strikeout number 4 for Garcia.
Talking about Hyundai Foxmo as you watch that arm come all the way back, and there you see set so high above his head. A lot of hitters are just concentrating on that release point, but so far today they're not doing a good job of picking it up. 4 strikeouts.
Zach Greinke. Deep in the hole for Kyle. He'll throw to first and not in time. Well, still, how about that play from Kyle?
That's a pitcher running. That's not a bad idea right there, because a lot of times a pitcher's going to put his head down just assuming that ball is going to go through. And Greinke, he noticed that he was getting to it, but watch this execution. How far in the outfield grass, just throwing blindly and right there on the money.
That's a highlight without retiring the bat.
Top of the lineup, and Ricky Weeks walked, stole a base, his second back in the first, then was left stranded at third. So the Cardinals getting healthier with Craig as well as Lance Berkman returning to this lineup. You would figure both would be in there by this time next week for sure.
I think with Lance they're going to be a little bit more cautious because, as I said, they haven't really tested the calf that much. Now he's going to step it up, and they'll have a better idea over the next couple of days. And back to the lineup that Mike chose today. With the off day tomorrow, he felt like he had a little bit more flexibility to get the guys who are hot in there and then get them some rest tomorrow. He said, but of course he always likes to play guys to make sure everyone's playing a little bit. Certainly the Cardinals have gotten contributions from all over the place to get to where they are now, even with all the injuries that they've suffered along the way.
Count is 2 balls and 1 strike. Garcia has had the double play be a huge factor in his last 2 starts. 2 starts ago he had 4 double plays behind him. Last start in Chicago, multiple double plays. And Greinke back to the bag at first.
It is the pitcher over there at first base, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
With a man on, you get the signs from the dugout, and a little bit slow relaying them. You wonder if it's trying to slow Garcia down.
Here's that ground ball slowly hit. Only play to go to first, and they get Ricky Weeks by a half step.
I just wonder what would happen if Skip Schumacher would have taken a step forward, because the runner has to allow the defensive man an opportunity to field the ball. Look at Greinke. He runs around him there and did not mess with the concentration at all. But if Schumacher would have taken a step forward and kind of made contact with Greinke, but why not keep the pitcher out there and running on the bases too?
So Greinke is the tying run at second base. Here's Gomez, who popped out his first time up. Carlos Gomez getting more playing time as the first month has gone along because of the lack of hitting by Nyjer Morgan.
What a shame.
You don't like Nyjer as much as Brandon Phillips, and both guys have been antagonists a little bit.
No, I like Phillips a lot more. It's night and day difference between the two. One's a class act named Phillips.
Gomez talking the other day about not expanding his zone, and that's been the key, just swinging at strikes and discipline at the plate. Swings through that pitch. A changeup, 1-2.
Young hitter, very undisciplined, so you can expose him with changeups. Head goes flying, over swinging on the ball. He's got a lot of talent. One thing he's got is definitely his speed.
The 1-2 pitch. Ground ball, backhanded by Freese. High throw, makes the play. Holiday, Beltran, Freese coming up. Milwaukee is stranded 2 thus far. to you by MyKiaSt.Louis.com. Right now at Jack in the Box, you can try the new Chipotle Chicken Club Combo for just $4.99 plus tax. And by the new wireless receiver from AT U-verse. Visit att.com/freeyourtv. Rethink possible. The Bank of America Club here at the ballpark. Zach Greinke was left stranded in the top of the third. And he'll deal with Holiday, Beltran, and Freese. Cardinals with a one-run lead. A two-out RBI base hit by Rafael Furcal. Holiday first time up, grounded out.
It's good to see his average steadily climbing. Won't be long before you figure the numbers are right where they should be.
I don't think any of us were terribly worried about his slow start.
Misses in.
I'm not sure if Greinke is a smart runner or not so smart. We'll talk about it in a second.
He had a play that involved him running from first to second on a ground ball to Schumacher at second, and near collision there. And then we both noticed the final play to end the top half of the inning. Looked like David Freese from our vantage point up here had to hesitate just a little bit, and Greinke, I'm not sure if he slowed down to get in his way or not, but wound up being a high throw, but no damage for David Freese.
I'm going to show you what we're talking about.
Lead-off walk, and the third walk issued by Zach Greinke.
Well, here he goes going to second base. He wasn't sure what to do. He tried to mess up the timing, but now he goes to third base. The ball is fielded. You see him slow down there, but look where he is. And David kind of looked at him after he made that throw and said, "Hey man, I almost hit you in the head."
I'm fairly certain that wasn't by design.
I think so too. I think he just forgot that ball was caught there. Just assumed, okay, the inning's over, I can slow up. And then when David's throwing the ball to first base, David kind of reacted like, you know, I nearly hit you in the head.
Now Carlos Beltran walked his first time up. In the air, out to right. Hart is back near the wall and makes the catch.
The temperature is about 20 degrees warmer. I think that ball is out of here. Hart very smooth, goes back on the warning track, reaches up, and at about midway in the warning track.
Now David Freese.
A rare strikeout with men in scoring position for David.
Hit .545 against Milwaukee last year. And then we showed you, and that was in the National League Championship Series, we showed you the numbers he's had already this season. So the Brewers have struggled trying to find a way to get Freese out.
David's still a young hitter and still learning. You can get ahead in the count, have 2 strikes on him. There are ways to put him away, but many times you can't get to 2 strikes.
Here's a 1-1. Freese just celebrated his 29th birthday. I think that gets overlooked too, guys, the fact that he's a young player. I mean, this is a player that could be, knock on wood, stays healthy around a long time. Some players cannot deal with playing in their hometown, and Freese has thrived in this environment. 13 years as a coach. Jose Oquendo, the secret weapon. He's still got it. Those soft hands.
Still smooth.
Look at that. All the infielders say, okay, he's pretty good. He could teach me.
The 2-2. We still believe that Jose will get a shot at managing, as didn't come here in St. Louis. And he said, no hard feelings at all. I want to be back here. He's been living in town for a number of years in the offseason as well.
From a selfish standpoint, we almost don't want him to get that opportunity.
Here's a 3-2. They'll start the runners. Swing and a miss. Throw down to second and out. A double play. Lucroy guns down Holiday and a double play. Jim, will see you on the postgame show. Braun leads it off when we come back. What it says right here in the copy.
I know, but
look at that, end to end, like a train of red circus elephants.
I wonder what that person did in preparation for that. You know, what he did to see that vision.
Just visit mo.com. Find out more. Be a bucket list thing for us, Al.
Yeah. Geological formation is unbelievable.
Fouled back by Ryan Braun. And we're underway here in the fourth.
You ever notice when Jim Hayes comes on board, it's all about him?
Well, I have noticed that, yes. But what did you notice about this time?
Oh, it was just his Knicks, what he wanted to tell us about.
Jim has a story on Cal Loesch that we're going to hear about apparently on Tuesday concerning a bat that Jim signed. Turned the ball over there on Braun. 0-2. Braun grounded out to short, first time up.
I just think that is not necessarily turning the ball over, but just the way he's holding the ball, that it just slides away from the right-handed batter. It's a very effective pitch.
Breaks his bat and a floater into center for a base hit.
Time the ball got up a little bit, stayed up, and much easier to hit.
Email the booth, brought to you by carsoup.com. And this is Derek in St. Louis. Al and I were actually talking about this on the way home on Friday. What do you think of the possibility of changing the rules on saves? And this has been kicked around by Major League Baseball.
Well, the save rule has been changed a couple different times. And it's Jerome Holtzman, writer with the Chicago Tribune, was the author of the original save rule. And he was trying to find a way to reward, relief pitchers.
Here's a Aramis Ramirez and a check on Braun.
And it's changed over the years at different times, but one of the thinking is now is not necessarily the guy that finishes the ball game, where they're saying that many times in a game a reliever may come in the 7th, 8th inning and he may be facing a much more difficult situation.
How about a double play ball? Out at second. It's a double play. 6-4-3 off the bat of Aramis Ramirez.
But a reliever may come in the 7th inning with multiple runners on base and have to pitch his way out of it. So he could do that, and then you turn over the game with a 3-run lead to a pitcher in the 9th inning with nobody on base. And they're saying instead of rewarding the hold to the first pitcher, give the save to the guy that inherits the more difficult situation. It's just being kicked around a little bit. And I remember a game when I was with Kansas City that Steve Mangori, who truly was a left-handed specialist and had very few save opportunities. Well, he came into a game, pitched 3 innings. He allowed 1 hit. It was a solo home run. And the official score at that time that you had to pitch effectively according to the official score. And the official score for his home park did not award him a save because he said he did not pitch effectively. He gave up 1 hit, 1 run in 3 innings.
Here's a 1-2 to Hart. On that double play, we heard a player say some words that we don't appreciate, so we apologize to fans at home for that. Our microphones will pick up a lot of different things that you'll hear on the field, and that was one of them, so we apologize. There's a swing and a miss for Corey Hart. And that's strikeout number 5 for Jaime Garcia. The double play, this replay brought to you by Mazda, the turn by Schumacher. Organization that'll bring you the largest time 5K race in St. Louis. It's Girls on the Run, nonprofit organization that helps prepare thousands of young ladies for a lifetime of healthy living. That'll be on May 12th. Register now at girlsontherunstlouis.org. Lots of trophies being handed out today. The replica trophy brought to you by tickets.com here at the ballpark, and a young fan entering the park with a smile as Greinke goes back to work, bottom of the 4th, and that's inside to Yadier Molina. Royals were said to have had enough of Greinke and vice versa. So he winds up with Milwaukee. And we've talked a little bit about this, that Zach Greinke is a free agent to be. But a lot of the larger market teams that might be in play for a guy of his skills and the kind of contract that he may warrant, may stay out of it because of his history of not really wanting to be a part of those big market teams. For instance, he has a no trade clause, his current deal, and many cities like the New Yorks of the world are not a part of it. He does not want to go to those big market cities.
It's not media friendly, and that's his prerogative. But he is a unique individual, and the fact that has trouble winning on the road, I mean, that's got to be taken into consideration too.
Carpenter has flied out to center. He of the no gloves loses his bat. 1 ball, 1 strike. I know, Al, you've been accommodating with the media as a broadcaster because you're now one of us that you refuse to admit to. But as
I hate the media.
I know you do. And even though you're a part of it.
No, I'm not.
And when you were playing, you were gracious, I assume.
Very much so.
And to me, there's times where people have bad days. That happens. And,
absolutely.
You know, but not to want to meet with the media all the time, you know, from a baseball perspective is in many ways inexcusable because, you know, the media does, if they're supposed to be doing what they do right, is the conduit between the fan and the player. And without these fans, you know, Zach Greinke's not going to go make $100 million.
No.
Here's a grounder that is slowly hit to short. Gonzalez flips it to first for the out. So 2 ground ball outs to short, and it brings in Schumacher. AT&T lapel pin. All fans who attend Saturday, May 12th against the Braves will get that lapel pin. Brought to you by AT&T. There has been the talk of Greinke with his anxiety issues in the past, and leads to his not talking with the media. But today, he's only allowed 1 run. Full postseason coverage right here on your home of the Blues, Fox Sports Midwest. And Fox Sports Midwest tomorrow night, following Game 2, we'll have all your post-game coverage. Cardinals showing their support. That's just outside the ballpark, and the Stan the Man statue in the main entrance area to Busch Stadium. Many of the Blues were here during the World Series, and now Cardinal players are heading to Scottrade to support the Blues.
Matt Holliday did something smart. He got out to his position in left field and then ran all the way back in to get a pair of glasses. No excuse for somebody running out there and say, oh, well, now I need glasses. Take the moment to go do it. There was no delay of game.
1 ball, 1 strike on Gonzalez.
And when Holiday started running in, you kind of have to think that now the sun's starting to peek out a little bit, and Mike Matheny telling Yachty, hey, warn everybody, if you need to get glasses, come do it now. Don't wait till you miss the ball.
Yachty telling Jaime to hurry up. I need to get to the Cool in the Gang concert later tonight.
They were here before the game. Jim Hayes do something with them?
Yeah, they were singing Celebrate.
That's what it was, huh?
Mm-hmm. Chopper foul. Cardinals celebrating the 1982 World Series champions all year. Dave LaPointe was part of the Busch Bash on Friday night. We've got a weekend that'll be dedicated to the 82 team later this summer. Alex Gonzalez, a 34-year-old, joining his 5th team in the last 4 years. Trying to shore up that defense at shortstop for Milwaukee. Only 12 errors last year. Remember Game 5 of the championship series. They had 7 errors. Did Milwaukee. So Casey McGee is out at third base. Ramirez in. And they've now got Gonzalez at short.
All ball, unlike A.J. Burnett. But it does hurt when it goes to other parts of the body. We'll leave it at that.
Gonzalez now talking with a higher pitch.
You know, going back to, what you were saying about handling the media.
Yeah.
I always felt that the only thing that fan base knows about you is what they read or what they hear. So if I talk to the media, then I can kind of dictate or take it to where I want it.
Left center, Jay makes the catch. And did you feel for the most part it was done that way?
Absolutely. I remember when I joined the ball club, I was warned. As you see, Jay got a nice little jump and then was able to coast to the ball. But I was warned about one of our beat writers that did not have a strong reputation in the clubhouse. And once I knew about that, I was maybe a little more cautious speaking to him. And it's none of our current writers. And I felt like I always got a fair shake from him.
Derek Gould on the right, Joe Strauss with the hat on, and that's Bernie Miklas, the Post-Dispatch. A base hit for Lucroy.
Jaime trying to get ahead in the count, set up away a little bit, but that ball just comes back over the middle and hit it hard and where no one was at.
There's Travis Ishikawa, one of the last players to make this club for Ron Renneke and the Milwaukee Brewers.
Noted as a defensive player in my mind.
To play the outfield, he's added that to his resume, and primarily we have seen him at first base.
And that would have been a couple years ago playing for the Giants.
Here's a ground ball base hit past Carpenter into right field. Lucroy will hold up at second base. Runners at first and second for Zach Greinke.
Hold the runner on, and it's the difference of making that play or not. So runners at first and second, have the pitcher coming up.
You hear about all these different players that come through and make it to the big leagues, and just how gaudy their numbers were for many of them in the minor leagues or coming out of high school. And for Zach Greinke, he's noted nationwide as a outstanding prospect as a pitcher, but also could really swing the bat. That was his reputation. Was a terrific position player. He has singled here today, 2 hits on the year. Drops down a bunt. Molina will go to third and out at third. They just got him. They get the lead man.
That's another aspect with Yadier Molina. He's fearless, not afraid to make a mistake, and he rarely makes one. But who's going to say anything if he makes that execution and makes that throw and he's safe there at third? You're not going to say a word. But the mere fact that he gets this ball, pounces on it, and gets a lead runner speaks for itself. McCroy actually slid right into the ankle or the heel of David Freese. We don't like to see that. It was not intentional, but Yachty, the ball just, deadened. The bunt was deadened too much. Just stayed right there in the dirt. Easy for him to pick it up.
Here's Ricky Weeks. Molina signaling right after the pitch to Garcia to make sure he takes a look at the runner at second base. Ishikawa got a huge secondary lead, so a base hit could score him.
And you just have to vary your looks, check out everyone, and don't let somebody get that walking lead.
0-2. Showed you earlier it was Ricky Weeks, 2010, that took Garcia deep, and since that time, at home for Garcia against Milwaukee, he has been awfully good.
Scoreless for 29 2/3 innings. Cutter in, get 2 strikes on him.
Swing and a miss. He strikes him out. Jaime Garcia with 6 strikeouts this afternoon. Milwaukee stranding a couple. The changeup. The strikeout number 6, and it's 1-0 midway through 5. And the man that replaced him, Yadier Molina, has now won 4. Yadi picking up the platinum and the gold glove. 4 consecutive for Yadier Molina, and that was yesterday afternoon. And then today, what he's done, continuing that hot hitting, he's 1 for 2. And a very fine play here on the bunt by Greinke as they get the lead man. Just think about all the little things that he's a part of throughout the day.
Well, I was gonna say, and people, a lot of times when they kind of wondered maybe about Mike Matheny being the manager, the catching position prepares you better to take over a post-playing career as a manager than any other position. And just look at the managers in the big leagues, probably more catchers that are managers today than any other position.
Garcia with a base hit out to left. Right over the glove of Aramis Ramirez. And a leadoff base hit for the Cardinal starter Jaime Garcia. June 16th, it's Busch Stadium and the 8th annual Purina Pooches in the ballpark. And a limited number of tickets are on sale now at cardinals.com/pooches.
Streaks follow streaks, don't they? Ralphie came into this 0 for 7 on the homestand, 0 for his last 11, and now he's starting a positive streak, 2 for 2.
Furcal with the RBI base hit, and that was nearly to the backstop. Greinke has struck out 2. He's walked 3. That base hit allowed was just the 4th today. Let's see if they want to bunt in this spot with Furcal, even though he does have 2 hits.
The defense keep them guessing.
2-0. Remember earlier in the ball game, Furcal took a peek at Ramirez, who was playing in, tried to slap one that way and just place it. Something he works on every day during batting practice from this side of the plate.
You see what he sees out there in the left field, but he also knows Ichikawa is holding Garcia on, so he could pull the ball.
See Furcal with no home runs this year, but that was not the case once the Cardinals picked him up. I mean, he was a guy that was driving the ball and hitting home runs.
And especially against Milwaukee.
Right.
He had 5 home runs against Milwaukee a year ago.
Two and 2.
In his career, he's hit just a shade under 300 with 10 home runs against Milwaukee pitching.
2-2 is lifted into shallow left. Ryan Braun will make the catch. 1 away. Now Verbosky, Jim Hayes, Dan McLaughlin with you from Busch Stadium in St. Louis. Well over 40,000 on this Sunday afternoon. Cardinals looking for a sweep over the Milwaukee Brewers. Trophy giveaway, and it's a packed house. John Jay has grounded out to short and also sacrificed back in the first. A fine play by Gonzalez back in the second inning that took that hit away.
John has an 8-game hitting streak. He had 6 before he missed 6 games due to the shoulder strain, and then he's hit in both games coming back this weekend. 3 hits in each game.
Line drive base hit into left center. Garcia picking up his coach, but hesitated just a bit, and Jay safe at second base. What a heads-up play.
If he would have been thrown out, did you think it was a heads-up play?
I love it this way.
Like in Gomez, and you see Ricky Weeks trying to argue with Ron Krupa, the second base umpire. But John Jay picks up this base hit. It's out in the left center. Center fielder Carlos Gomez is going to pick it up. He first blocked to go to third, and that's when John Jay, you saw him slow down, but then he saw there, and it looks like he is safe. The toe got there ahead of the tag of the calf.
It's a single on that play for Jay. And Holiday pops one foul. The infield is drawn in for Matt.
You got the center fielder come in, and he's looking right to third base. Then he didn't throw. That's when John Jay decided to go to second, and he reversed direction. Didn't have much on the throw to second, and he got inside the tag of Ricky Weeks.
One ball, one strike. Holiday is grounded out and walked and was caught stealing. Only hitting 192 with runners in scoring position.
Big gap out in left center.
Greinke is working from the windup again with runners at second and third. This is something that he changed up. He may have gotten away with this pitch. Let's see.
Little hump in there, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
The sharpness and wanted it further away.
Remember, Greinke used to turn not quite to the second base bag, but he did curl up a little bit and turn more towards second. Started that back in 2007, and then by his own admission it got a little bit too much out of control, which then hurt his command. So he's eliminated that turn as prominent as it once was.
It's interesting. You win a Cy Young Award with it, but you could see how you could probably over accentuate, kind of jump towards the plate. And if your arm is dragging a little bit, you're not going to be able to locate the ball where you want to.
Here's a 2-2 pitch to Holiday. Reaches for it, and a fly ball out to center. And Garcia was on his way home, and a base running mistake by Jaime Garcia. Instead of going back to the bag at third, he doesn't tag up, and it cost the Cardinals a run.
Wow. And watch Jaime here. Takes off, and it's just a little too soon. See Oquendo trying to get back. Really nothing Oquendo can do right there, as Jaime a little way out of control. And I'm sure Jose Oquendo and them, they kind of had trouble locating the ball back in, but I'm sure Oquendo went over every scenario what to do, but it just didn't register in the mind of Garcia.
And right now, Al, you see they're separated.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you say to him? He knows.
He knows. I mean, just a brain cramp. Now, did he think there was 2 outs? What was going on? But
if you're Jose Oquendo too, is that something where you say, all right, he knows, plus he's a guy he's my pitcher, and he's a guy that gets pretty fired up over certain things. And just let's address this after the game.
I think that's a great point, Dan, is what you do now is just going to compound the feeling that he has. He knows he screwed up, and when you have a pitcher out there, you don't want to complicate things. You want him to think about, okay, I'm going to take the mound there and not dwell on the fact I should have another run. But trust me, Jose told him every scenario, and I'm sure Jaime's kind of, yeah, I know this, I know that, but then makes a mistake.
Beltran is 0 for 1. He has walked inside. 2 balls and a strike.
Hit one in the middle of the warning track his last time up. He's 0 for 4 when facing Greinke.
Takes that RBI, which should have been RBI number 14 for Matt Holiday. Right now, can't really catch a break with anything he's doing. 3-1 the count. David Freese on deck. You wonder, with first base open, he'd rather pitch to Freese, who has struck out twice today. What's on tap is Morton and Wainwright. That's brought to you by Budweiser. That's coming up on Tuesday night at 6:30 on your home of the Cardinals, Fox Sports Midwest. Wainwright looked a lot better in that last start against Chicago.
Sure did.
12 for 30 with runners in scoring position this season for David Freese.
The Cardinals on the road trip couldn't execute in these situations. And on the homestand, they've done an outstanding job of capitalizing with runners in scoring position.
Garcia, Jay, Beltran aboard. The bases are loaded, and here comes a 1-0 pitch to Freese. 2-0. Time called by Lou Croy.
Well, normally Greinke has very good command. Came into this action with 23 and 2/3 innings, only 5 walks, and he has 4 walks today in 4+ innings.
Pitch count at 84 for Greinke, who 3 times has been over 200 innings in his career. And he led the National League in strikeouts per 9 with 11 last season. Freese can be selective. The 2-0 pitch. David hits it in the air out to right, and Corey Hart is there to make the catch. Cardinals strand the bases loaded. They've left 7 on in the first 5 innings of play. Bell, Liv Moss. Find a helpful servicing steel dealer near you. Visit steeldealers.com. And by AT&T, the nation's largest 4G network. AT&T, rethink possible. We're at Busch Stadium in St. Louis, and the Cardinals have a 1-run lead. Saturday, May 5th, it's the UFC returning to Fox. And it's got a heavyweight bout. That'll be Saturday, May 5th at 7. Presented by Bud Light. I don't know about you, Al, but you get the feeling that this could be a big inning for Garcia after the mistake made at third, knowing that at times he can become a little unnerved.
And that's why Oquendo, I think, did the right thing. No need to say anything. Jaime knows he messed up, and he should have another run to work with. But because of his nature, even more so, you don't want to compound it. You don't want to make him feel bad about the situation. Just let him go out and pitch and get in the strike zone real quick.
2 balls, no strikes on Gomez, who was popped out to second, grounded out to third. There's a base hit out to left. Brings in Ryan Braun. Cardinals care 6K and 1 Mile Fun Run is Sunday, September 16th. Register right now and get money off that registration price. Register until tomorrow. Cardinals.com/6K. Braun is 1 for 2. A broken bat single to center.
Cardinal defense has turned one double play. They'd love to get a second one off the bat of Braun.
Tony La Russa has been busy in his pseudo-retirement, if you will. He's been handing out World Series rings to players that have found new homes across Major League Baseball. We will see him in uniform one more time in Kansas City. He will lead the National League team, the All-Star game.
Big lead for Gomez. He has 5 steals on the year. With Molina behind the plate and his shotgun arm, you just love the opposition run. Just it's the responsibility of that pitcher to keep that lead short.
Popped foul and out of play.
Managers today control the running game, and you'd like to think there's another area where an ex-catcher would have an advantage.
Nothing in 1 to count. Runner goes, good jump and a ground ball to short. They'll avoid the double play. Braun is retired. Advancing to second is Gomez. Aramis Ramirez, the hitter. He bounced into the 6-4-3 double play and struck out back in the first. Garcia has struck out 6.
Ramirez was hitting .361 in his last 10 games after batting just .103 over his first 10 games this season. He is the big bat to replace Prince Fielder, who's off to a good start, batting about .320 for the Tigers.
Ron Renicky went to lunch with ownership. They said, okay, we're going to spend some money this offseason. We lose Prince Fielder. What would you like? He said, give me a number 4 hitter. And Ron gets that number 4 hitter with Aramis Ramirez. And Ramirez started at play today with only a couple of home runs. Base hit into right. Gomez being waved in. He will score. And we are tied up at 1-1. The RBI for Aramis Ramirez, his 10th of the year.
Gomez, when he got to first base, was quite excited. Here at second base, he's going to come around and score on the Ramirez RBI, and let's see what he does here. Okay. Of course, if you don't know there's going to be a play, and usually, you watch the catcher react to it, it's not a bad idea to slide if you're not sure. You'll never be caught in between. But usually you'll see the catcher, they can DQ a little bit, but in that situation, Molina was not anywhere near the plate to receive the throw. Ramirez picks up Braun.
And here's Corey Hart, and he admitted publicly that he did not like hitting last year behind Prince Fielder. Said it was very tough on him. Just he put a lot of pressure on himself to provide that protection. He struggled in that spot, and Ron Renicky used some imagination with his lineup in putting a guy that's nearly 6'7" at the top of his lineup and batting leadoff, and really had success from that spot.
It's not an atypical leadoff batter, but he is a very good player.
9th season with the Milwaukee Brewers, longest tenured Brewer now. 26 home runs last year, but only 63 RBIs, and that was a product of him hitting in that leadoff spot.
He hit .324, 13 home runs and 32 RBIs the last 53 games, and this year he leads the team in runs, home runs, and RBIs.
And the 1-2 pitch to Hart is a ground ball, base hit off the glove of Freese and into left. Ramirez stays put at second base. So 3 of the 4 have reached with singles, and it brings in Gonzalez. I wonder in the back of Mike Matheny's mind if it's time to have a little visit with Jaime Garcia.
Well, it's probably there because, one, Molina's going out to talk. There you see, just off the glove, scored a base hit. But Derek Lilliquist, the pitching coach, will join Jaime Garcia. Just slow him down a little bit. You know, Jaime is not necessarily a phobia, but he's one of these guys that just doesn't like to see anything change or go awry. There's at third base last inning, there's only 1 out, and fly ball should have been a sac fly, and he should have had a 2-0 lead. Doesn't have it, and then, like you say, he goes out the next inning, and all of a sudden 3 out of the next 4 batters get base hits, and he's in a tie ball game.
Alex Gonzalez, the hitter, slowly hit to Freese, only play across the diamond. Runners advance to second and third, and there's 2 away. There's Jonathan Lucroy. So just as the Cardinals have locked up Yadier Molina, Milwaukee did the same with Jonathan Lucroy. He's actually the first catcher since Mike Matheny to be developed by the Milwaukee Brewers and stick with the team.
Last year he hit .265, 12 home runs, 59 RBIs in 136 games. And we'll talk about the scenario now. You have the right-handed hitting Lucroy, and on deck is the left-handed hitting Ishikawa.
And Lucroy, spring training 2 years ago, had a bone chip on a hand. It was an odd play. They were just doing drills. He said it actually led in his decision to sign the long-term deal, not play things out. He said, I wanted financial security, and he got that, and the club winds up getting security themselves with a catcher that'll be there for years to come. They get very concerned on how hard he is on himself. Really beats himself up, and that kind of sounds like Mike Matheny when he was a player, doesn't it?
Sure, it's such a demanding position, and you know, most players can think about defense and everything, but 99% of catcher is defense, and what you do with handling the pitching staff, and the offense will later on comes. And that's why you look at Yadier Molina. You know, his first year really full-time catching, he hit about in the 200, 215. And then each year, as he's just excelled as a catcher, his offense has increased.
The 2-0 pitch drilled out to deep left. Holiday looks up, and this ball is off the top of the wall. 2 runs will score, and it's an RBI double for Jonathan Lucroy, and the Brewers have their first lead of the afternoon. And again, we started the inning wondering if that would have any carryover effect, his base running mistake, and clearly he's not been as effective this inning on the mound.
Well, you're talking about, you know, Yadi's going out there saying, don't let this guy beat you. And then he makes a pitch that's up out over the plate, drives in 2, make it a 3-1 Milwaukee lead.
Now the 8th place hitter, Ishikawa.
Oh, he'll have no trouble going through him. Just wait and watch. I think he, you know.
0-2.
Sometimes it almost backfires, and a guy that his psyche is so fragile to go out and say, don't let the Lucroy beat you, a right-handed hitter beat you with a left-hander on deck.
0-2 pitch. Ishikawa has struck out back in the third and singled in the fifth. Matt Gamble is on the bench today, and Ishikawa the start at first base. High fly ball out to right, and that stays in the ballpark as Beltran makes the catch. Milwaukee picks up 3, and they pick up a lead.
After 4 hits and 2 runs in the lead get away, Jaime goes in not happy with himself. Be careful with your left arm, and is beating himself up a little bit as he relinquishes the lead. He's getting a lot better at trying to control his emotions and when things go haywire for him, but sometimes it's just hard to understand how he could be pitching at such an elite level and just, you know, beat himself up at times. You could feel all that internally, but you try to avoid showing it physically.
That's inside to Molina. 1 ball and 1 strike underway here in the home half of the 6th. The scout Joe Alvarez that came to work for the Cardinals that knew all about Jaime Garcia. Remember, there was a time where he still could have been drafted by the Baltimore Orioles, and they had a reshuffling of their department in Baltimore, and it would have been a draft and follow type situation with Garcia. It never materialized. There was also talk of him signing in Mexico. The catch made in right by Corey Hart, but it was Alvarez who was able to get Garcia and convince him to sign with St. Louis, get in shape. That was a concern too, but you know, Joe knew all about him and his emotions as well. At times those would get the best of him in the minor leagues, but just a little bump in the road, no big deal, and he's been a back-to-back 13-game winner. Molina is 1 for 3. Here's Carpenter 0 for 2.
Biggest thing, Dan, is you can't take back what just happened, but you can stop it. And if you hold them to the 3 runs, let your offense come from behind, and you can still win this ball game. And I'm not that concerned about a quality start, but you can still get the quality start also.
1 ball, 1 strike on Matt Carpenter with Schumacher on deck. And with McClellan throwing, you wonder if that's going to be it for Jaime one way or another, even if he has a chance to bat in this 6th inning.
Schedule is the 4th hitter, and I'm sure they would pinch hit for him if.
There's a line drive, base hit into left center. Nice play by Gomez to cut it off. And it holds Carpenter to a single.
Comes over here, backhands the ball in left center, and Gomez gets it back in quickly.
You know, Al, in thinking along with Mike Matheny here, you do have the off day tomorrow. Your starters have been going deep into games, and a couple things come to mind. One would be the fact that your bullpen, some of those guys need work, so trying to keep them sharp. There's a fly ball to center caught by Gomez. And the other thing is to think about the carryover effect of the World Series and postseason from last year and all the innings that some of these guys had. You know, Carpenter had pitched a ton of innings, obviously, and Garcia was the most innings he had ever pitched. Komatsu was on deck, and now Garcia pops out of the dugout. But that maybe in the back of Mike's mind that early in the year, maybe we'll try to buy a few innings here and there when we can from our bullpen.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised that he's not pinch hitting for him for all the reasons you just suggested. But it is early. Sometimes you still want to play positive mind games. And here, maybe the key is just telling Jaime Garcia that, 1, we want to get your pitch count up there. 2, I believe that you will shut them down the rest of the way. But I am surprised they're not pitch hitting.
So Garcia represents the tying run and hits for himself in this spot. And Jaime lines it into right field. We knew that was the right move. Tell you what, Al, we were all over that. Making sure Garcia stays in the game.
You might have been.
Yeah. Al, I was in your camp on that one.
He picks up his 2nd hit of the game, so that makes it a little more interesting. Now it's Lucroy to go out and talk to Greinke.
Zach Greinke for a while was representing himself and has just recently picked up an agent.
Casey Close.
Casey Close, longtime Major League agent. 96 pitches on the day. Greinke said he is open to discussing that long-term deal in season and staying in Milwaukee.
Well, he made a comment that when he was representing himself, he was very impressed with his own representation.
Who would be, right?
Oh, that's right. No, but knowing that he is a potential free agent, he decided before the season that he would re-engage with his former agent.
Up and in, 2 for Kyle. And agents, if they're doing their job like they should be, it's much more than just the contract with the club. There's all kinds of endorsement deals and baseball cards and signings
and babysitting.
Yeah. Just taking care of a lot of the different things that a player may need. The 2-1 for Kyle with a fly ball out to left, and Braun will make the catch. Redbirds strand 2. They have stranded 9. We played 6, and it's 3-1. StubHub, it's the official fan-to-fan marketplace of the Cardinals. And be here in person, Busch Stadium, next time you want to check out a game. So Garcia stays in the game as Mike Matheny pulled back Komatsu. He picks up the base hit. McClellan continues to throw in the pen. Young and old fans are here today, enjoying baseball, picking up their replica trophy. Aoki will be the pinch hitter for Zach Greinke. A sore spot this year for the Brewers has been their bullpen and a ton of walks. So Ron Renneke will ask his bullpen to get the final 9 outs as their club leads it by the score of 3-1. Aoki lines it into center field, and that's a base hit. So pinch hitting for Greinke, a leadoff base hit.
And Kyle McClellan has to be ready. And you kind of surmise that Garcia going back out there and Kyle McClellan getting up, starting the inning, that if one man reached base, he would probably go to his bullpen. But it's not the case yet.
And that pitch taken low by Ricky Weeks, top of the lineup for the Milwaukee Brewers, as Garcia is at 91 on the day. .99 pitches for Zach Greinke.
4 walks, got that total up.
Here's a high fly ball lifted to left. Aoki tagging up from first and stays put.
Aoki had a 320 plus batting average in Japan.
He's 30 years old. He's played center a lot over in Japan.
6-time Gold Glove winner. 2005 Central League Rookie of the Year. All-star in each of his 7 full seasons in Japan. A runner at first base.
1 out. Here's Carlos Gomez. Talk to scouts and they will tell you that when they go over to Japan, it's very tough to take a look at those gaudy numbers for, let's say, Aoki and try to figure out what he would do against major league pitching. It truly is a different style of game that they play.
Much smaller ballparks. You know, obviously the pitching is not as good, so numbers kind of get skewed.
I've heard a lot of scouts talk about they want to stay away from some of the pitchers that come over from Japan. Yu Darvish is the latest example now with Texas. But the reason being is that their program and how they pitch is completely different to what the grind of Major League Baseball is like. And the travel is much different over in Japan. It takes those players a little getting used to going coast to coast. They say that when they travel, it's a lot shorter.
Taking bullet trains most of the places, I think.
But little things that you find out when you come over here and play with the best in the world, Major League Baseball. Pitching mounds are a little bit different. The ball is different, how the seams are. They practice a lot more on fundamentals. But as you pointed out a lot, Al, the fact is when guys get to this level, they're supposed to know those fundamentals and be able to execute when they get here. Not always the case. The 2-0 pitch is a high fly ball again out to Holiday. Gets himself in a position to throw. Gomez flies out.
Gomez a little over anxious today. We've seen several times here. I think he thinks he got a home run. Yeah. Not even to the warning track. That was a home run in Japan. and he's never played there. Our fans just don't know how to boo, do they? Even when they want to boo Ryan Braun, it's not a strong effort.
Well, you and Jim were talking about Brandon Phillips. They got after him pretty good.
Yeah, but Ryan Braun is sort of making him know, okay, we know what happened, but you know, they don't have their heart into it.
Where would this team be if that 50-game suspension would have held up with Braun and Fielder not in their lineup for a third of the season to start the year?
Not that Ryan is off to his typical start, but you would have to think it would take a major toll.
Rookie of the year in 2007. Picked up 20 of 32 first place votes last year for the MVP. Ground ball to short. Force play at second. Time to stretch on this Sunday afternoon, and it's 3-1. Light, the sure sign of a good time. Here we go. Mike Matheny and the Cardinals trailing by the score up 3-1. Bottom of the seventh rolls in. And this is our Chevy call to the pen. Jose Veras, he is 2-1 with an ERA that's close to 7. Big guy that is asked to fill some pretty big shoes. You think about LaTroy Hawkins and Takashi Saito, both leaving via free agency last year, so they needed a right-hander to come in and step up. They traded for Veras, and Veras steps into a key spot for Ron Renneke in that bullpen.
John Jay extended his hitting streak to 9 with a single back in the 5th. Veras was acquired from Pittsburgh in the Casey McGee deal, and he's allowed at least 1 run in 3 consecutive appearances, including yesterday when he pitched 1 inning, 2 hits, 2 earned runs. CRA in those last 3 has jumped from 142 to his current 6.75. And last year he was an outstanding setup man, as he had 27 holds, one of the better ones in the National League.
Big guy, 6'6" on the mound. And a 1-0 pitch to Jay. Like most pitchers, if he's down in the zone, he will have success. But Ron Renneke talking before the ball game today, he said if he's down, more times than not, we've got ourselves one of the best right-handers coming out of the pen. He feels that confidently about him. And there's the slider that's in there for a strike.
Well, you talk about his size, you know, it's easy for him to throw in a downward plane. There's those, you see the 3 games, and obviously high pitch totals counting for the runs that were scored against him.
Check swing and did not go. Every time I see that now, I think of Brendan Ryan, because I've seen it about 100 times.
Perfect game.
Yeah, his check swing, and he did not run.
And then we consider it's Brendan Ryan, who I like very much, but sometimes does things that kind of make you question.
Par for the course, so to speak.
Leadoff walk would be fine, just as good as a base hit.
Greinke walked 4, but left with a 3-1 lead. Pitched with runners on throughout the afternoon too.
You mentioned 9 runners stranded already.
And it is a leadoff walk.
Trying to keep trying to show faith in Veras, and complicates things by bringing potential tying run to the plate.
Holiday 0 for 2 in the walk. You know, Veras averaged a fastball at 94 miles an hour last year. The biggest change for him was with his curveball. He was throwing that 40% of the time. The year before, it was 25% of the time. And you hear about these numbers, Al, as a hitter, and you know that's an effective pitch for him. You know, you look for it too in these spots.
Yeah, a lot of hitters are guess hitters. You'd be surprised. But of course, now with all the information they have to think about, they're coming up with better educated guesses.
Holiday is about due. Had what should have been an RBI back in the 5th with runners at 2nd and 3rd. Garcia was the runner at 3rd, did not tag up on a fly ball that he would have scored on.
Big gap in left center, as if they don't think he can get around on the fastball.
Two and 0.
For 7 with 3 strikeouts, but pitching behind the count will make Holiday even more dangerous.
79 games last year for Veras, the Pirates bullpen. Opponents only hit 130 against him this spring as he emerged as their 7th inning guy. Here's a grounder that is foul. 2-1. They should have on paper one of the better bullpens in all of baseball, with Veras in the 7th, K-Rod in the 8th, and then Axford, who's been outstanding, in the 9th.
Cameron Lowe's been a pretty consistent guy out of the pen. And so far it's been very good for Milwaukee.
Two and 1 the count on Holiday, and a check on the runner at first.
Real key is to get through this 7th inning with a lead, because the Brewers have won 50 straight games when taking the lead into the 8th inning.
Popped up. Shallow right. Weeks looking for help. Who wants it? And it's Ricky Weeks. He was looking the entire time.
Where's Corey Hart?
For help. He looked up initially. Then he looked for help. Realizing Hart wasn't coming on, had to go back on it. See, right there is when he decided, oh, I got to make this catch.
Yeah, because he looked and Hart wasn't anywhere. Watch him turn his head. There he looks and sees Hart's nowhere near. So he has to make the very difficult catch. There's really no excuse for that, making your second baseman go back on a ball. And Corey Hart, I mean, that's atypical of him. Very sound, fundamental player, but that's his ball all the way.
Beltran is 0 for 1, a pair of walks. And that's a fastball at 95 and a strike.
You know, a lot of times a guy will get out of a slump. You know, the first part of getting out of it is taking walks. Beltran has 2 walks today. He's 0 for his last 6. Remember, on Wednesday he snapped an 0 for 18.
Here's the 0-1 pitch. 0-2. There's that very good breaking ball.
It looked like Carlos was ready for it, but just swung and missed.
The former Pirate is on the mound, and we'll see the Pirates here on Tuesday night. Two. And a strikeout of Beltran. Couldn't pull the trigger. 2 away.
Well, hitters are guess hitters. And he was guessing breaking ball.
That is the lineup card of Ron Renicky. And there's no lineup card that is nicer than that. That is the work of Jerry Naron, who does calligraphy, baseballs, and his job is to fill out that lineup card. The red are the lefties. How about that? Talk about a nice lineup card, Al. Not quite as nice as the one supplied by John Rooney for you day in and day out, but not bad.
Close.
Calligraphy for Jerry Naron. The green is the switch hitter.
So you got Jerry Naron is the bench coach, and Johnny Naron, his brother, is the hitting coach. And read a very interesting book over the winter on Josh Hamilton, and Johnny Naron was prominent in that book. As it was his job the last several years to just take care of Josh Hamilton, keep him, make sure nothing happened.
Line drive, base hit out to left. The tying runs are on. And a chance for Yadier Molina. First hit for David Freese, who is now 1 for 4. And here's Yadi.
Try to set up inside, and he fights it off and muscles it over the infield. So things are set up for a comeback. And it looks like Cameron Lone will have to face Yadier Molina. Renicky out there. Cameron Lowe is ready, and he just made the signal to the bullpen.
Yadi with a chance to do some damage against Lowe when we come back. should be in the Hall of Fame with 18. Yadier Molina 9. Walker Cooper, and then Tim McCarver, who was prominently featured on our pregame show. Molina, a chance to do some damage against the 6'8" Cameron Lowe. Now, Ron Renicky said last year, in retrospect, and this is our Chevy call to the pen, I use this guy way too much. And many times he would go back-to-back nights, and Lowe, one of those guys, and I know you'll appreciate it, Al, he never said a word, always took the ball. But in spring training, he said, yeah, there were times my arm was dead, I was tired, but I'm not about to tell my manager no.
I also will tell you, during the course of the year, there are times when your arm is dead, and yet you can go out there and pitch effectively. I always felt that a manager knows when you're tired. He knows when he'd like to avoid using you, but sometimes he's forced to. And part of the beauty of pitching is knowing that you're not 100%, but you have a responsibility to your ball club, and you go out and do the best you can.
And Lowe has dedicated this season to his grandfather, just passed away at the age of 92. And Lowe said that his grandpa was at all his Little League games. Also, as a pitcher at Cal State Northridge, Lowe's grandfather, his name was Howard Pound, would always be there and cheering in the crowd. So he recently passed away, and he's dedicating the season to his grandpa this year. 1 ball, 1 strike. And he's doing that because of how close he was with his grandfather, but also Lowe said that he was a kid that spent much of his childhood without the influence of his father. And so any piece of sporting equipment that was bought for anything that he played was done by his grandpa. That's taken low. 2-1.
And as a grandparent, I can appreciate that. Adi 1 for 3. Hit with a 2-1 count, 2 outs. Big gap in left center.
That's low. He said his grandpa used to always yell hubba hubba from the stands. And that was something that he learned, his grandpa, he said, when he was in the military. And so he would do that when Cameron would take to the mound. Cameron said he was an American hero in his mind.
Hubba hubba, base hit.
The 3-1 pitch to Yadi. Here it comes. Foul. 3-2. It's a sellout today. 45,824. 45824.
Great crowd. They haven't had much to cheer about. Cardinals scored their lone run in the second inning. They've stranded 9 to this point. So a key at bat right here. Full count, 2 outs. Runners get a head start. Make sure he delivers to the plate and take off running.
Ground ball to short. Gonzalez gathers it with plenty of time and makes the play. Cameron Lowe gets the out off the bat of Yadier Molina. Baseball on Fox Sports Midwest. Let's go across the diamond, so to speak. Pat Paris is standing by with a Bommarito Sports Update. All right, here's Kyle McClellan, who takes over in the 8th inning for Jaime Garcia. And he will get the middle of the lineup. Ramirez, Hart, Gonzalez. Ramirez has bounced into a double play and has an RBI base hit back in the 6th. That tied it up at 1-1. And then he came around to score on the double by Lucroy. 2 runs would score there. That pitch was up and popped foul and out of play.
Kyle's just allowed 1 run in his last 9 innings, covering 7 appearances.
Talking with Kyle the other day, he said there's no secret to this curveball that he has. Regular grip on it, no spike on it. And there it was, and it's popped up. Catch made by Schumacher. Let's go back to the at-bat with Lowe and Yadier Molina that ended the bottom of the 7th.
2 men on, so starts him out with a fastball, fouls it back, and 1 way away. Repeats that same delivery. Sinker going down, and then finally a 3-2 pitch as he got the ground ball to short the end of the inning. Cardinals have stranded 11 runners today. So all you have to do is look back and say 1 or 2 at bats for the runners in scoring position, be a different story.
There's a breaking ball on a hop off the bat of Hart to Schumacher, 2 away. He certainly has one of the best curveballs coming out of that bullpen, one of the best in baseball. And he said he learned that in the 6th grade. And his dad is still coaching out at the Fieldhouse Training Center in O'Fallon, Missouri. 10 cages and weight room. It's a baseball only facility. Terry is his dad. His brother Matt is the head coach at Hazelwood West and was Kyle's pitching coach. He said, I was just lucky. I was gifted. Once I took the baseball and learned the curveball grip, it just came to me. It was something I always possessed. There's the fastball. Oh, what a play over at third. Wow, what a play. David Freese. Takes the hit away from Gonzalez. Outstanding play from David Freese to end the top of the 8th. A 1-2-3 inning for Kyle McClellan. It's 3-1 Milwaukee. And this is where the Brewers can be so dangerous in the 8th and 9th inning with leads, to go with a guy that has the single saves championship, so to speak, while with Anaheim, and nearly 300 in his career, and that's Francisco Rodriguez. He accepted arbitration, which really surprised a lot of folks around Major League Baseball that know him. Thought he wanted to be a closer again. He came over from the Mets and worked as a setup man last year to Axford, and they run into problems. He'd certainly be a guy you could trust in the ninth.
Had 23 saves last year, but all those were the Mets. He did pick up his first Brewers save this year on April the 10th. And as you said, a little surprising that a guy that wants to be a closer to go back to where they have a dominant closer and you're just the setup man. But
1-1 the count on Matt Carpenter. Carpenter, a line drive into left center field. That ball will get down, rolls to the wall, and Carpenter is digging for 2. Carpenter thought about going for 3, and he'll stop at second base. It's a leadoff double, and the tying run will come to the plate.
You think about going 3, but you really got to stop. You're in scoring position at second base, and you don't want to make the first out of an inning at third.
Nissan drive of the game, second hit for Carpenter.
And it's the Cardinals' first extra base hit of the day. Their 9th hit overall. And plugs the gap out there. So our Nissan drive of the game. Carpenter rounding first, and he'll round second, but he'll stay there.
Here is Skip Schumacher. The breaking ball that's taken high. The Brewers really are in need of some fresh arms in their bullpen. They made several moves after the game yesterday. Mike McClendon was sent back to AAA. Chris Narveson moved to the 60-day DL. But right now it's about K-Rod and Axford at the back end of this game.
The more you see this big motion, the more comfortable you'll get with it. And see lefties. Schumacher has had success against K-Rod.
That'll add to it. Base hit out to left. They will hold up the runner. Nobody out, and the first 2 have reached.
You just look like you just see a real controlled swing out away from him, and just look at it, just serving it out to left field. Skip can do that. Now Descalzo will come to the plate as a pinch hitter. Kranitz, the pitching coach, will get out to talk to K-Rod. He's their 8th inning guy. Axford not warming up. They have a lot of confidence in him. Now they'll probably go over a little scout report. Descalzo last year was really tough in this situation. Not only did he lead the ball club in sack bunts, but he was second in the National League with a .356 average in close and late situations.
Pretty even mix when you look at the career of K-Rod, lefties and righties, and he'll get a steady diet of lefties. He just saw one. Here's another, and then you have for Colin J coming up. Daniel Descalso looks at a high strike.
Zepchinski warming up for the Cardinals. No one for Milwaukee.
Here's a slow roller right side, and they will get Schumacher at second base. So that's a key out for Ricky Weeks to take that man out of scoring position.
Boy, he really, a slow roller, as you said, allows Schumacher to get close to second base. And really the mark of the second baseman, will you take these gambles? Will you take this shot to get the lead man? And it's very close, pays off. You got to get one. Schumacher tried to disrupt the return throw, make sure that they couldn't get the double play. Kyle's got off to a great start today with 2 hits. Usually when he gets these 2 hits, he gets 3 or more.
Now, K-Rod, what makes it surprising that he's back, Al, is that when he was acquired for the Mets, they told him you're going in the 8th inning, and he said, okay. About a month in, he said, I want to close. And I want to go to a place that allows me to close. And here he is back knowing his role without any question. He is the 8th inning guy.
But part of it, you think, is returning to a winning club. Second is reunited with Ron Renicky, you know, who they were together with the Angels, and I'm sure he had, you know, could talk very straight to him, you know, not deceive him in any way. And like you said, he had the experience in the second half with the same club. Now, through no success against K-Rod, who has that high leg kick.
I mentioned earlier they had Takashi Saito, who was a former closer, and he was vocal last year in saying, I don't want to pitch in the 8th. And Ron Renicky had situations last year where prior to K-Rod, they had issues on who to go to. One on its way to Furcal. Traditional running count, 2 balls, 1 strike in baseball, but do you want to take that chance here? Lou Croy behind the plate, Descalso is at first, and Mike Matheny, the wheels are spinning.
You know, decades ago, there was almost an automatic running count, 2-1. But it got to the point everyone knew you were going to run on that count. They stopped running. You could probably start doing it again and catch teams by surprise.
That's the tying run at first. Not running, the 2-1 taken outside. John Jay is on deck.
Let's see that his natural motion from a stretch is a high leg kick. And the last one, a little more of a slide step, thinking the potential there. But so many pitchers trying to control the running game make mistakes or don't have their good effort going to the plate.
Three-1 is a grounder, hit to second. Furcal is going to be out at first, and they do not get the lead man.
Should have been a double play ball, but Ricky Weeks couldn't find the handle and couldn't get to lead man. Watch here. Goes to turn, and then he couldn't find it. Holds onto it, regrips it, and throws the runner out of first base. You've got to get one. But will the failed double play cost the Brewers?
Tying run at second base. John Jay, what a series he has had. He's been on base twice today. He was robbed of another base hit back in the second.
7 hits in the 3 games. At the top of the strike zone.
Oh, what a tremendous play that was by Lucroy.
How much is luck involved in a play like that? Found so far out in front of the plate, you don't know what to do, and you just use your body, sacrifice your body. But you've got to do things like that with a game on the line. Potential try and run out of second, you would have been to third easily. Got so much motion. The deception when he throws his off-speed pitches. You really can't fool a hitter. You really do have to concentrate on the release point.
The 1-2. Jay, ground ball on one hop to third. The Cardinals strand a runner. K-Rod gives up a run, and it's 3-2. Milwaukee on top.
At Busch Stadium coming up after the break on the post-game edition of Missouri Lottery Cardinals Live. Pat Parris and Ricky Horton standing by. They'll break down Jaime's afternoon. We'll get Mike Matheny's post-game comments, and Rick will tell us what we learned this week in Cardinal baseball. That and more coming up as we head back to the booth. A look at John Jay, and Al. John had a shot.
He had a shot, but he has a tough customer on the mound, and very deceptive. Watch how he'll throw the glove out there. That's why you really have to concentrate on the release point. And we can tell from here, it's a splitter. So you get so much motion, you can't pick up the ball until it's already upon you. And then if you're out in front looking for the fastball, that splitter is devastating. You eventually ground the ball to third base. And we're playing here, one-run game now, as Mark Zepchinski will come in, his 8th appearance. He allowed a home run and is ending 2/3 for a blown save on Tuesday, but he's been very good on the year.
Going back to what you were talking about with the save rule, I was thinking about Zepchinski coming up against Fielder, and so many times the game was on the line.
Yep. Come in with a key at bat, you know, maybe runners in scoring position, and then you've got to get an out, and that's in the 7th or 8th inning, and then you clear the deck. You'd have a 3-run lead. The closer comes in, nobody on base. He's got 3 runs to work with. I remember seeing at the end of
good pitch and a breaking ball and a strikeout.
Remember Eckersley coming in the game, the 3-run lead, gives up 2 home runs, but you win, you know, but you had 3 runs to work with. There, a wild swing and an off-speed pitch. Zep's got the stuff that maybe later on in his career he possibly could move to the starting rotation.
Axford is getting loose in the bullpen.
No surprise.
Travis Ishikawa 1 for 3 today. Jammed him for Cow. 2 outs. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the St. Louis Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. Cesar Izturis, the former Cardinal shortstop, and switch hitter will pinch hit with 2 outs, and that's it for K-Rod. Gave up an earned run in the 8th. It's 3-2 as we play here in the 9th, and that pitch is in the air to right field. Nice work out of the pen by Zepchinski. Axford coming in when we come back. Milwaukee. And Axford, the closer, will take over for the Milwaukee Brewers, and this guy has been sensational, Al.
Well, he really has. He was 46 for 48 in save chances last year. He's has a franchise record 47 consecutive saves. That ties for the 4th longest in Major League history. What he's done this year, he's lost a ball game.
That was on Wednesday against Colorado. That 47th consecutive save was Tuesday, which tied him with Brad Lidge for that 4th longest streak in history. Up next, Jose Valverde at 51. And his run ended on opening day.
Yes, it did, didn't it?
That's right.
He came out of the bullpen and, hey, I'm the man. But he was last year.
Here's Matt Holliday. The top 3 save streaks belong to Eric Gagne. He had 84. Tom Gordon had 54, and Valverde at 51.
Good rip by Holliday.
He's got that funky delivery. He throws in the upper 90s. Explosive stuff.
Got the great fastball, but got a splitter. You got that split finger and you throw hard. It's hard to get such a differential. If you're looking for the splitter, you will never catch up the fastball. And if you're looking for the fastball and he throws the splitter, you're going to be way out in front.
Of the 19 of the 47 have been 1, 2, 3 innings. That's it. Only 19 of them. So he deals a lot with runners on.
And that's a big difference. You know, very few closers today are accustomed to doing that. And a lot of them, because they have big leg kicks, you know, they're susceptible to the steal.
And there it is, the leadoff walk. The tying run is on, and the winning run comes to the plate.
And you just wonder, I was thinking this right here. They're going to pinch run for Holliday with Tyler Green. He is slow to the plate, susceptible to the steal. And Beltran will have a chance Tyler Green is 17 for 17 in steals in his career. Led the club last year with 11 and spent half the year in the minor leagues.
Beltran, he's due. First pitch to him. Here's a strike. He is 0 for 1 with a strikeout in his career against this right-hander.
Hard to believe that he's only had one at bat, isn't it?
Here's the 0-1 pitch. Up the middle, base hit. Green to second. Green on his way to third. First and third, nobody down.
Well, there's a good indication right there. You take a chance and pitch running for Holiday, but there's no way Holiday ends up at third base on that ball hit to center field. Hard enough to get through the infield, but not hard enough to where it gets to the center fielder. Well, Green's able to go first to third. The extra foot speed gets a tying run at third. The winning run is on at first. Got to make a happy bench. And how about David Freese? Does he get another chance to be a hometown hero?
Beltran is the runner at first. Green at third. Ball 1-2, David Freese. Freese has struck out twice. He flied out to right with the bases loaded and singled back in the 7th. This crowd is into it.
Real key for David to be hitting with a favorable count.
2 balls, no strikes. Molina's on deck. Much of this crowd of 45,000 plus is on their feet.
Seeing the Cardinals just destroy Milwaukee pitching with the first 2 games. They're a tight contest.
The 2-0. Freese didn't like that. 2-1.
Like it was up and away. A couple words with our home plate umpire, Dale Cousins, the crew chief. Big difference hitting 3-0 versus 2-1.
Two and 2. That pitch at 97 on the inside corner.
Sac fly would tie the score.
Almost to the backstop, and
98 tried to overthrow it.
You've got a guy in Lucroy that had just 1 pass ball last year. He threw out 28% of base stealers, and listen to the crowd.
The infield playing in. David's hitting .345 with runners in scoring position this year.
A 3-2 pitch, runner goes, and he was on it. Fouled straight back.
He was. Beltran on the move. Ricky Weeks kind of playing close to second base, but mentioned he's converted 47 consecutive saves, 4th highest in Major League history.
Big strikeout for Axford. Brings in Yadier Molina. The risk that you run on both sides. You think about Milwaukee as you'll get a look at the strikeout here of David Freese. You think about the potential of the double play. But also, from a Cardinals perspective, you got a guy that puts it in play an awful lot in Yadier Molina.
No doubt about it. They'll play back and double play depth. Cardinals in spring training, and I wouldn't do it with Yachty because he's done such a good job of delivering this year against Milwaukee, a .429 average.
The chance of Yachty here at the ballpark and a breaking ball strike at 80, and we've seen that Axford with that odd motion still can get it up to that mid-high 90s.
And saw in spring training where Mike Matheny would have a first and third situation and would put on the double steal. A lot of times it was like the runner at first base would take off and then he would stop if they threw through, but they won't throw down this case.
0-2. 6'5". He had 46 saves last year. Even got votes for the MVP. That's a rarity for a closer.
I actually think a closer should have a better shot of winning the MVP than the Cy Young.
Runner goes, swing and a miss, throw down to second, and there he is in the rundown, and this is what you're talking about. Green to try to score, and this game is over. That's how it ends. Axford picks up the save, and what a disappointing way to end this game. The Cardinals fall 3-2 as Axford picks up the save, and he is our Budweiser player of the game.
We talk about this possibility. Beltran takes off, then he'll stop, and Gonzalez, a little too smart, realizes that, and Green really kind of got himself in a rundown. You either got to commit and go home. You can't slow things down. He tries to go around the tag, never does touch home plate, and the game is over.
And the umpire never made the motion to the out until he was officially tagged, and he was, as Lucroy got up to tag him out. So that's how this series comes to a close, and the Cardinals take 2 of 3. Their final is 3-2. Don't go away. The Missouri Lottery Cardinals Live postgame show. It comes your way next with Pat Paris and Rick Gordon.